asked or was discussing about the world being so messed up. This is my input, my views. Nobody has to agree with me. This is just how I see it, okay? I just look at it like this. Like, yes, I know the world is effed up. We all know the world is effed up. There's a lot of heinous crimes going on. A lot of stuff that it's crazy. The world seems crazy. But a lot of people, they have the belief, like, if there's a God, why would he let this happen, and why would this much chaos go on? But this is what I'm trying to say. This is how I look at it. I look at it is, the fact is, it's a reality that God exists. This is how I feel. That's what I'm saying. So, because I didn't come from nowhere. Nothing comes from nowhere. And there's a lot of other evidence that I gathered throughout my life that tells me that there's a God, that I believe there's a God. So once I figured that out, once I know that deep within, then I have to believe that regardless if I hate how the world is set up or not, I believe that there's a God. That's number one. And I believe Islam as the truth. That's number two. So since I'm believing Islam as the truth, and the Quran, and what our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to be the truth, in those in the Quran and the Sunnah, it tells us that, you know, we're going to be tested and everything is written. So since I believe that, it doesn't matter what I see with my own eyes. It doesn't matter that this world is messed up. I know that it's messed up. I just have to put my faith on top of that and believe what Allah said, that this world is a test, and that's what it is. It's a test, and there's gonna be a lot of bad things that happen. There's gonna be loss of life, as I posted on that verse from the Quran. So basically what I'm saying here is, my thoughts or my emotions takes a back seat. It's not the primary thing here. What Allah said, I have to believe that. I have to put that over all of my emotions. And I have to know that whatever he said is true. Even though some may think that it's messed up. If there's a God, why does he let this happen? But that doesn't mean that just because he lets it happen, it doesn't mean that there is no God. It just means that he's letting it happen. It doesn't mean that he's an evil God or anything like that. Because we don't understand the wisdom behind why he lets it happen. I look at it like, always try to look at the positive. Like, if you start letting your mind go negative and start thinking negative about all this stuff, then you're gonna lose your faith. You're gonna be like, there is no God, because he wouldn't let this happen if there was a God, if you think like that. But you gotta start thinking positive. You gotta start saying, okay, yes, this world is effed up, but why? Like, even though I don't understand it, there's a reason that God's letting this world be the way that it is. And I think, and I believe that it's a test, because it's a test. It's not gonna be a perfect world, because like, there's heaven and hell. So people are gonna do things that ultimately lead them to hell. Like, for example, you can't just put somebody in prison for murder for life. You can't just give them a life sentence in a prison without them actually committing murder. So the people that are doing crimes and all this crazy stuff in this world, their place is ultimately gonna be hell if they don't ask for forgiveness and if that's the path they choose to stay on. So they're gonna get their justice. Nobody said that, you know, God made this world like Disney World, and that's what it's gonna be, Disney World. Because people, when they think of God, a lot of people, I think they get this image that God is supposed to make everything perfect and it's like a Disney World thing. But when they see it's not like that, they tend to lose faith. But where did God say that this is a Disney World type of place? No, this is a violent, crazy ass world that we live in. And it's a test, because there's good and there's bad, but we're going to be rewarded or punished based on what we did in this world. And this goes back to what I was saying yesterday about the life cycle 1 and life cycle 2. The reason I said that is because of questions like this, that why would God let all this evil happen? But I don't know if people understood it the way I was trying to say it. But the way I was saying it is basically to answer these questions about why this world is so messed up and we can't blame God, because that's why I was saying it. So to give it a rough summary about that, if I didn't get my point across, I was saying it. That's what I was saying. This is what I was saying. I was saying, like, if God made this world, try to understand what I'm saying here. If this life that we're living, if God didn't plan this out, he just let it be the way it is. And as messed up as it is, he didn't write any of it down. He just let it play out. Then we wouldn't blame God, because we would say, okay, all this is from our own mischief, our own injustice. This is all our own actions. God is not to blame on this. Everyone would agree, because if we were to say that God didn't plan this out and God just let it play out, we can't blame God. But now all I'm saying is, if all that was life cycle 1, we wouldn't blame God. But now all I'm saying is, if God took that same information from life cycle 1 and then recreated the whole universe again with that same information and made life cycle 2, and he let it play out, we have to say that's fair again, because he took every information, every detail that we ourselves did with our own decision, our own volition, and then he recreated it to let it play out on life cycle 2. We have to say that's fair, because he's seen what we did and he let it happen again in life cycle 2. So how is that not fair? So of course that's fair. So then all I said was, but the thing is, God doesn't have to make life cycle 1, because his knowledge is supreme. He knows everything from his knowledge, that he doesn't need to create the universe twice. He could know without making a life cycle 2, or a life cycle 1. He could just know what's gonna happen just from his knowledge. He's not like human, where we have to, like, if we were a scientist or a computer programmer, we have to do test number 1 to see how it's gonna play out, to have an hypothesis on what's gonna happen on test number 2. No, he's not like that. He's the most wise, he's the most knowledgeable. He knows what's gonna happen even before creating something. He knows instantly. We cannot fathom his knowledge. So he doesn't need to create even life cycle 1. He just knows how it's gonna happen, and then he just could create the life itself. So what I'm saying here is his knowledge. He knows all of it before creating it. So if he wrote it down, what he knew what was gonna happen, and then he created the life that we're living right now. So how can we blame him? It's not like the writing is saying that, it's not the writing that's forcing us to do what we're doing. It's like, how do we know that the way he wrote it is just, he wrote based on what he knew that we were gonna do with our own decisions, our own volition, and he wrote that down, and that's what we're doing. So that's not saying that we're being forced to do anything. We're just doing what he knew that we was gonna do and what he wrote before. So how is that us being forced? I mean, Allah knows best, but from what I know that's how I see it. Allah knows best. You know, if somebody else has a different opinion on that, let me know. But that's how I see it. And also, it's like if I wrote something on a piece of paper, yes or no, and I threw that on the river, and someone asked a group of people, what did Taz write on that piece of paper? Nobody would know for sure. It would be a 50-50 guess. Similar, it's like people don't know what God wrote down or what he planned out. So in that sense, it's completely fair, because you don't know if you're going to heaven or hell. I don't know if I'm going to heaven or hell. We don't know. So everything I'm doing is completely free will. Like, I'm driving right now to get my iftar and eat iftar. Like, if I want, I could just change my mind and say, no, screw it, I'm just going to turn around. It's completely free will. So paralleling all that to what I was saying earlier about the world being messed up, it's not that like God forced that person to be messed up or anything. So it's just people are doing what they were gonna do, and they're just evil people, and they're starting wars, and like they're doing criminal activities because that's just in their nature. That's what they wanted to do. So we can't blame God for that just because it's part of destiny. But like I mentioned about life cycle 1 and life cycle 2, that's part of that's an easier way to look at it. In my point of view, that's how that gave me a relief. So that being said, after I realized that, look, regardless, even if I want to say that this world is messed up, and if it was like, if there is a God, then why would it be so messed up? If I want to go that route, it's like, it's not gonna do anything for me other than make me emotional. Like, yeah, I know it's messed up, a lot of people are dying, but I just have to give God the benefit of the doubt and know that this is happening for a reason. Like, there's a wisdom behind it, and all this evil in the world, there's a reason behind it. Like, one of the reasons, like I said, it might be the fact that people some people are going to go to heaven, some people are going to go to hell. So if there was no evil in the world, then who's supposed to go to hell? These people, some people are going to go to hell, and they're not just going to go to hell by being perfect people in this world. There has to be evil in this world. It's like there's there's good and there's bad in this world. The whole point of this world is it's a test. So that stuff's going to happen. So another thing about it is, yeah, like, we are so attached to this world, so it has an impact on us. So we think like, you know, this is the end of it. Like, that's how it almost feels like. This is the only life we have, so there's only gonna be good and there's only gonna be bad. No, I mean, you know, like, that's it. So we get really emotional about it, like, why is all this stuff happening? But if we had more faith and we realized that we really truly believe that, look, there's another life after this, and that is the real life. This is just temporary, and the next life is permanent. So even if we suffer, or a lot of people are suffering, but that's not the end of their life. The next life, they may have a great, happy life, even though they suffered in this life. And imagine if they suffered 50 years in this life, but then they got an eternal paradise. Wouldn't it be worth it? Like, I wouldn't mind suffering for 50 years if I went straight to paradise. Like, I would not mind. If I was guaranteed paradise, I would want to suffer, because that is my eternal life, if I was to go to paradise. So if you look at it in that sense, then that's what I'm saying. It's like this life is like a dream. It's almost like a dream. It's like when you wake up from a nightmare, even though in the nightmare, like, let's say 1 million people died, it's messed up, yeah, and I just want to get out that nightmare. But then as soon as I wake up, all that is gone, and it was just a dream, and now I'm like back in a good place, and I'm happy about it. So I forgot about the dream. So if you look at it in that sense, yeah, this world is messed up and a lot of people are suffering. I agree, and it's messed up. But then those people, imagine when they wake up, hopefully they'll be in paradise, and they'll like have that same feeling how we have when we wake up from a nightmare, and except they'll be a lot more happier because they may be in a better place, like paradise. Same as us. Like, we may think this world is really messed up, and then it is messed up, and then when we die, we're gonna wake up from it, and we're gonna realize that it was just a test. That life that we're living right now, it was a test. It was like a dream. It's not reality. When we wake up is when we die, and that's what's gonna be reality. So if we could look at it like that with a real deep faith, then we won't be so emotional about it and start saying like there's no God, because he wouldn't let this world be so messed up. We would start looking at it like, okay, there is a God, but he made this world where anybody could do anything, and it could be evil. He's allowing it because Allah knows best, in my opinion, because this is a test. He's allowing it for that purpose, so everybody gets their reward and their punishment after. It's like a performance test, you know. That's what I can say right now. So even though, if, like I said, I'll say it one more time, even though if I feel emotional about it, like it is messed up, I choose to put that in the back seat, my emotions, and have faith in Allah, what he said about it's a test. And I tend to not look at this world like Disney World and not blame God and say, why is God allowing it? Because if God didn't allow it, then it's like saying, you're basically saying God, if he wanted to make a test for human beings, he's not allowed to do that. We all know in Islam we're taught that the angels, human beings are greater than the angels because they have free will. They're able to do good or bad. That's why if they make it to paradise, they're going to be above the angels, because angels are supposed to listen to the commands of Allah. They can't disobey, but humans and jinn, we can disobey. So Allah made the earth like that as a test for us to be able to do good or bad. So how does it make sense for us to ask, why does he allow good? No, why does he allow this evil chaos? Because he made the earth like that, for that to take place, if people, that's what they want to do. So Allah could either reward or punish them. So that in itself is an answer, because that is the purpose for free will, for us to do whatever we want, and for God to allow us. If God didn't allow us to do that, then how is he even allowing this test? He's not allowing a test to go on. He made this world as a test, and to worship him. And worship is not just praying, but to, you know, like to follow Islam. But that's what it tells us in the Quran, and that's what it tells us in Islam. So that in itself, honestly, I think is an answer in itself, because it's saying, like, you know, like I said, I'll repeat it again, that Allah basically, from, you know, what I learned, that he made human and jinns with free will. Everything else, it's like it doesn't have free will. I mean, sure, like animals, they do what they want based on their desires and stuff, but they're not gonna be questioned like humans and jinn. And angels, they follow the commands of Allah. They can't disobey him. So that's why, if he's allowing us as a test to do whatever we want, right or wrong, good or bad, evil or not, then obviously there's gonna be evil that happens in this world, because God let us do what we want as a test. So now that we're seeing the evil, how can we blame God and say, why is he allowing this? Because the whole purpose of this earth is, it's a test. And who's gonna do good, who's gonna do bad, and who's gonna follow Islam, who's not gonna follow Islam. All that stuff is part of the test. So I think that in itself is an answer. I mean, that would be satisfying to me. So honestly, when you look into Islam deep, like you understand it, then you see that the purpose of life is a test. When you in worshiping Allah, with Islam and stuff. But if you don't look at life as a test, then you're gonna lose hope. You're gonna probably stop believing in God, because you're gonna say, like what, you know, people ask, why does God allow this? Because if you don't look at life as a test, that's what's gonna bother you. You're just gonna be like, this doesn't make sense. Why is God allowing all this killing and stuff? Because like a lot of other faiths, they probably don't look at life as a test like that, so this could be traumatizing. But when you look at life as a test, and how it says we're gonna be tested in these type of ways, then it starts making sense. Like, okay, it's a test, and different things are happening for different reasons, and I have to remain like believing, because a lot of these things may happen because purposely Allah may allow this to, you never know, to see if somebody still believes in him or loses their faith because they chose, okay, this world is too messed up, there couldn't be a God. Maybe this is just some of the reasons behind his wisdom, to see if people still believe. But like I said, if you have a faith, if you have stronger faith and you really believe, then you got to put your emotions to the back, and then you got to just realize that there's a bigger picture. There's there's a reason behind all this, and like I said, it's a test, so it's gonna be good and bad in this world. So that's some of the stuff I'll mention. I don't even know how these videos be getting long, other than the fact that I keep repeating things, and I feel like I didn't say enough. So I'm not the greatest at speaking. I'm just trying to touch my points with, I guess, as many words as possible. That's not one of my strong suits, speaking. So I guess I'll leave it at that for now. I'll just post this on YouTube because I can't share it on my whole story. If you got any questions, hit me up. And Allah knows best if I made any mistakes. I may have made plenty of mistakes. I'm not a scholar. I'm just a sinner, just sharing what I feel. I'm just giving my inputs, just sharing something that I think may help, but I could be wrong in a lot of things. Feel free to comment, or inbox me if there was any confusions, and I'll leave it at that.